What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back to a new review. So I tried quite a few blue phones in the past, but none of them were that impressive. I mean, they were offering good value for their price, but they weren't that amazing. Well, that kind of changed to the last blue phone that I've been using. So this right here, it's called the BLU VIVO XI Plus. This is a phone that you can buy for around $300 and I've actually seen this as low as $270 about a month ago. And for the price, well, this is kind of like a budget flagship killer. First of all, we get a very premium looking phone, a phone that has a nicely rounded metallic frame and a large screen, and the way the phone feels in hand, well, it kind of reminds me of the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, and that's a phone that you can buy for about $1,000. So the screen is a 6.2 inches IPS panel that has a 1080p resolution. We get great and vibrant colors, we get great viewing angles, and the most important, the screen gets bright enough so you can use the phone outside in direct sunlight, something that you don't usually get with a lot of budget devices. And since we are in 2018, of course we get the notch, but at least with this phone the notch is actually used for something. So in the notch there we have an infrared LED that will light up your face, so you can use the face unlocking even in complete darkness, something that we've seen with the iPhone, with the Xiaomi Mi 8 and a few other phones, but definitely not all the phones have this feature. Next to that infrared LED, we also have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera, and surprisingly enough, the front-facing camera is actually better than a lot of other more expensive devices. So if you have plenty of light, the pictures turn out great, they are very sharp and detailed, and the same goes even if you don't have enough light. And as I said, the pictures are actually better than a lot of flagships out there. And going back to the notch for a quick second, well, if you hate the notch that badly, you can hide it from the software, but keep in mind that this is an IPS panel, so the blacks aren't going to be as dark as you'd get from an AMOLED screen. So whenever you have the notch hidden, you can definitely tell that the blacks to the left and to the right of the notch don't look as dark. And I think you're probably better off to just leave the notch be. For other specs, we have the powerful Mediatek Helio P60. This is an octa-core CPU that gets very similar performance to the Snapdragon 660. So if you check the scores on the Antutu benchmark or the Geekbench 4, the scores are very similar. As I said, we get 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of internal storage, and the phone can also take an SD card, and that SD card can be used as internal storage, and that means that you're going to be able to install apps on the SD card, so you're not going to be running out of space anytime soon. The phone even supports fast charging and wireless charging, so if you charge the phone with a cable through the USB-C port that we have at the bottom, it takes just under 2 hours to charge it from 0 to 100, and of course you can use a wireless charger, but if you use a wireless charger it's going to take much longer, because the wireless charging is always slower. But at least we get that option, and this is not something that we usually see for phones around $300. And since we are talking about charging, we might as well talk about the battery life. So inside this phone we have a 3050 mAh battery, which seems to be the norm these days for a lot of devices. So on one charge you can go for about a day and get between 5 and 7 hours of screen on time, depending how you use the phone. So definitely not the best battery life out there, but you should be able to make it an entire day on one charge. Next to that USB-C port at the bottom, we also have the holes for the speaker, and unfortunately the phone only has one speaker. With a lot of phones these days we see the speaker at the bottom and one at the top. Well, with this phone we only get one speaker. Now the speaker gets very loud, but it seems a bit distorted at the maximum volume, so I do recommend that you listen to somewhere around 75 to 80% of the volume, because it sounds much better there. So yeah, I wish to have had two speakers, it would have made the experience much better, but here is a quick sample so you can hear how the speaker sounds. Moving on to the back of the device, well, the back seems to be made out of plastic, but it could also be glass. It's a bit difficult to tell without actually breaking the phone. Anyways, the back is a fingerprint magnet, so every time you touch the phone you're gonna leave some fingerprints, but at least there is a case that comes in the box, and I'm imagining that most people will use that case with the phone anyways. So on the back there we have a fingerprint scanner, and the fingerprint scanner is super fast, probably faster than a lot of budget-friendly devices that I tried in the past. And we also have a couple of cameras. We have a 16 megapixel sensor and a 5 megapixel sensor, and that means that you're going to be able to take pictures with the bokeh effect or the portrait mode as they're called for other devices. The edge detection around your subject is pretty good, and unfortunately I didn't have any human subjects to take pictures of, so I kind of had to improvise, but all the portrait mode pictures that you're going to take with this phone seem seem to turn out really good, and all the other pictures that you're gonna take during the day turn out great. The colors are very accurate, dynamic range is good, and the pictures are very sharp, but a lot of phones can do really good for daytime pictures. Now, I was very impressed by the nighttime pictures because most budget-friendly devices kind of fail as long as you don't have enough light. So if you take pictures at nighttime, the pictures are actually usable, and these are some examples of some pictures that I took last night. So quite impressed by the cameras on the back of this device. So the VIVO XI Plus is running Android 8.1, and supposedly this phone will also get an update to Android 9 in the near future, but I can't exactly confirm that. So the launcher seems to be very close to stock Android, and well, there isn't much holding the phone back, and with that powerful Mediatek Helio P60, everything seems to go very smooth. Even opening apps is almost just as fast as you'd get from a phone that has a Snapdragon 845, for example. So yeah, I was quite impressed by the performance from this device. So no matter what you do with it, if you're opening apps, if you're switching in between screens, if you're switching in between apps, everything seems to go very fluid. Even scrolling through heavier apps like Facebook seems to do really well, and the Facebook app doesn't do good on any phone out there. So I was very impressed to see that. Chrome works really good, so scrolling up, scrolling down, zooming in, zooming out seems to work without any issues. On the YouTube app, the maximum resolution is 1080p, and you can also take full advantage of the screen by zooming in your videos, and the notch is not gonna be in your videos either, which is definitely a good thing. As for the gaming performance, well, it is decent, but not as good as you'd get from a Snapdragon CPU, and I'm imagining that has to do with the fact that the games aren't exactly optimized for that Mediatek Helio P60. So for example, PUBG, well, the game performs okay-ish, but there are a couple of skipped frames here and there, and that's something that we don't usually see with the Snapdragon 660, for example. So it will depend from game to game, but not all the games are gonna do that amazing on this device. Moving on to the GPS unit inside this device, well, it works great, but it takes like 4 or 5 seconds to find your location. However, after it finds your location, it doesn't seem to lose it. For sensors, well, we have all the sensors that you'd find in a much more expensive device, including a gyroscope. And for connectivity, we have dual band Wi-Fi 4G connectivity, but unfortunately we don't get NFC, and that was a bit strange, and I was kind of hoping to get NFC because this way you could make payments with the phone and so on. So no NFC with this device. Here in Canada it works on 2G, 3G and on 4G, and I'm assuming it works the same in the US and probably everywhere else in the world. As for the speeds over the dual band Wi-Fi and the 4G connectivity, those are great and on par with other devices with the same price. And it's time to conclude this video. So the BLU VIVO XI Plus is definitely the best phone that BLU ever made, and if you're looking for a phone and you don't want to spend $1,000, this is definitely one that you should consider. The only downside to this phone is the fact that it doesn't have NFC, but if you're not making payments with the phone, well, you can probably go without NFC. So definitely a great phone for its price. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, press that like button, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.